Across T, the hidden network CIA's covert communication systems across continent world. The hidden network CIA's covert communication systems across continents. The world of espionage had always relied on human intelligence. But by the late 1950s, the CIA realized that information alone was not enough. To maintain an edge over adversaries, a new type of network had to be built, one that spanned continents, connected operatives across oceans, and allowed messages to travel faster than traditional methods could permit. This was the genesis of the hidden network, a covert system of communication that would redefine the agency's operational capabilities and set the stage for global intelligence dominance. At the core of this network were cables, radio signals, and encryption devices, some visible, most invisible. Operatives were trained not only to gather intelligence, but also to transmit it in ways that would evade detection, interception, or manipulation. Every message carried risks. A single compromised transmission could expose operations, endanger lives, and undermine international strategy. The challenge was to create redundancy, security, and reliability in a world that was increasingly monitored by the enemy. The initial phase involved mapping communication corridors. Engineers and intelligence officers collaborated to establish secure lines between embassies, field stations, and operatives embedded in key cities. Underneath oceans and across mountains, cables were laid, carefully disguised as commercial infrastructure. Radio operators mastered the art of shortwave transmissions, using codes that could withstand decryption attempts. Each method had its advantages and vulnerabilities, and constant adaptation was required as adversaries developed new interception techniques. One critical element of the network was compartmentalization. No single operative knew the full structure. Information was segmented and distributed on a need-to-know basis. This ensured that even if a section was compromised, the rest of the network remained intact. Operatives were assigned cryptonyms, used coded language, and followed precise protocols to maintain operational security. The hidden network was not merely technological, it was also psychological, relying on discipline, trust, and the unwavering professionalism of agents operating under extreme pressure. Early successes were subtle but significant. Field reports, once delayed by days or weeks, could now reach Washington in hours. Observations from one continent could inform operations on another, allowing real-time decisions that reshaped intelligence priorities. Analysts learned to interpret streams of coded messages, cross-reference multiple sources, identify patterns that would have been invisible without the network. The result was a web of intelligence that was simultaneously decentralized and cohesive, flexible yet resilient, and capable of sustaining operations in hostile territories. Security remained paramount. The CIA implemented rigorous protocols to prevent interception. Encryption methods evolved constantly, and operatives underwent continuous training to recognize potential breaches. Dead drops, signal timing, and covert relays were integrated with the physical network, creating multiple layers of security. Even the slightest lapse of predictable schedule, a repeated signal, or a careless operator could compromise months of painstaking work. The hidden network also relied on innovation and improvisation. In remote or politically sensitive regions, agents often devised unconventional methods, concealing messages within innocuous items, using one-time pads, or employing shortwave transmitters disguised as everyday objects. These improvisations allowed intelligence to flow through territories that were heavily monitored, where traditional communication methods would have failed. Flexibility and creativity became just as critical as technical expertise, transforming each operative into a master of both technology and strategy. As the network expanded, so did its strategic value. What had begun as a series of experimental connections evolved into a global system linking continents, operatives, and analysts in a continuous flow of intelligence. The hidden network allowed the CIA to act with unprecedented foresight, respond to emerging threats, and coordinate operations across thousands of miles with precision. It was more than infrastructure, it was the lifeblood of modern espionage, a silent architecture upon which the agency's global reach depended. By the end of this initial phase, the foundations of the hidden network had been laid. Operatives, engineers, and analysts had established channels that would carry secrets across continents, transforming the CIA's ability to monitor, anticipate, and influence events worldwide. Every wire, signal, and encoded message represented a triumph of ingenuity, discipline, and courage. The global web of intelligence was no longer an abstract concept, was a living, breathing system, invisible yet omnipresent, ready to guide the agency through the complexities and dangers of the Cold War. The hidden network was in motion, yet its power was invisible. Across continents, operatives transmitted intelligence in whispers, pulses, and flickers of signals that only those trained could interpret. Each silent message carried weight, often determining the outcome of operations thousands of miles away. The mastery of transmitting information without revealing presence became both an art and a science. In Berlin, London, New York, and beyond, these signals in silence formed a lifeline that connected field agents to analysts, commanders, and policymakers. The challenge lay not only in sending messages, but in ensuring they remained undetected. The CIA's engineers devised encryption methods so complex that even intercepted signals would appear meaningless to the enemy. One-time pads, rotating cipher systems, and radio codes allowed messages to travel safely, while operatives constantly varied transmission times, frequencies, and locations. The slightest predictability could compromise months of intelligence work, and every precaution was necessary to maintain operational integrity. Signals were more than static. They carried patterns, hidden in sequences of clicks, flickers, or brief flashes. Operators trained their senses to perceive subtle deviations that would indicate acknowledgement or danger. A missed signal could mean delay, misinterpretation, or exposure. Communication became a delicate choreography, where timing, clarity, and discretion dictated success. In the shadows, silence was more potent than words, and every beep, pause, or flicker held significance understood only by those who were part of the network. The reach of the network extended to every corner of the globe. An operative in Asia could transmit reconnaissance that influenced decisions in Europe, while intelligence gathered in South America informed covert actions in North America. The speed and precision of these communications transformed the CIA's ability to act proactively, giving them an edge in anticipating adversaries' moves. Every message was a thread in a web of global intelligence, woven with care, discipline, and extraordinary attention to detail. But maintaining secrecy was an ongoing battle. Adversaries constantly sought to detect, jam, or intercept transmissions. The CIA countered with innovation: directional antennas, frequency hopping, and temporary transmission stations hidden in innocuous locations. Operatives sometimes disguised shortwave transmitters as everyday devices, while encrypted messages were concealed in mundane objects, passed through trusted couriers, or embedded within seemingly innocuous correspondence. The ingenuity and creativity required were unparalleled, as every risk was amplified by the potential consequences of discovery. The human element remained crucial. Operators in the field needed precision, calm under pressure, and unwavering focus. Any lapse misreading a signal, delaying a transmission, or neglecting protocol could compromise entire operations. Analysts had to interpret fragmented data, cross-reference with other intelligence streams, and identify anomalies that might indicate deception or interception. Together, they maintained the flow of information that formed the backbone of the CIA's global network. Every successful transmission reinforced trust, cohesion, and reliability within the network. The signals in silence allowed operatives to coordinate movements, anticipate enemy strategies, and respond to emerging threats with unprecedented speed. Each silent signal carried not only intelligence but also the assurance that the network remained intact, resilient, and adaptable. It was a system where technology and human expertise converged, creating an invisible bridge across oceans, cities, and borders. As the network matured, its sophistication deepened. The CIA had created a framework where signals could travel undetected, securely, and efficiently, connecting continents in a continuous exchange of critical intelligence. It was no longer just a communication system, was the circulatory system of the agency's global operations. Silent, precise, and resilient, these signals carried the pulse of intelligence across the world, proving that in the shadows of covert operations, silence could speak louder than words. The signals in silence formed the lifeblood of the hidden network. But it was the invisible thread that truly bound operatives, informants, and analysts together across continents. Unlike wires, radio waves, or encoded messages, this thread was intangible, woven from trust, timing, and the precise orchestration of countless moving parts. Each operative became a node in a vast web, relying on others to perform their roles flawlessly, often without ever meeting them in person. The strength of the network depended as much on human discipline as on technology, creating an invisible framework capable of sustaining intelligence operations across the globe. The invisible thread manifested in the smallest gestures: a mark on a mailbox indicating a safe message drop, the subtle positioning of a vehicle signaling a meeting, or the rhythm of coded communication that hinted at urgency. Every operative had to recognize these cues, internalize them, and act without hesitation. The precision required was immense. One misinterpretation could unravel the carefully maintained flow of intelligence, exposing agents and compromising missions. Yet, in this silent choreography, each participant contributed to an intricate balance that allowed the CIA to operate in environments where direct contact was impossible. Across continents, the thread connected operatives in Asia, Europe, Africa, and the Americas. A message retrieved from a hidden drop in Istanbul could be relayed to analysts in Langley, influencing decisions in South America within hours. The network's beauty lay in its adaptability. When a node failed, alternate routes emerged, ensuring continuity and resilience. This dynamic connectivity created a living system, one that could respond to enemy actions, environmental challenges, and unforeseen obstacles with remarkable agility. The invisible thread also served as a psychological framework. Operatives understood that their actions affected others miles away, instilling a sense of responsibility and precision. Trust, once established, became a currency more valuable than any device or codebook. Informants risked their lives, knowing that the network's reliability depended on the discipline of operatives who might never meet them. This mutual dependence forged an unspoken bond, a silent understanding that the network itself was stronger than any individual. Innovation continued to expand the network's reach. Microtransmitters disguised in mundane objects, one-time codebooks, and dead drops synchronized with long-distance communication systems allowed intelligence to traverse borders seamlessly. Couriers and operatives coordinated with unprecedented precision, creating a chain of action that linked distant points in a single flow. Even in politically sensitive or heavily monitored regions, the invisible thread ensured that messages moved securely and that intelligence remained actionable. Security was paramount. The network's very invisibility was its defense. Compartmentalization meant no single operative had complete knowledge of the system. Encryption and encoded signals prevented interception, while alternate pathways safeguarded critical information. Every signal, drop, and interaction was a carefully managed risk, constantly evaluated against the possibility of compromise. This vigilance created a balance between operational efficiency and safety, allowing intelligence to move fluidly while minimizing exposure. The invisible thread became a testament to the agency's ability to harmonize human skill, technology, and strategy. It demonstrated that the most powerful connections were not always visible. They were embedded in coordination, trust, and the precise execution of carefully designed protocols. Across oceans and continents, this thread transformed intelligence gathering from a series of isolated actions into a coherent, resilient, and dynamic system, capable of responding to the complex and evolving challenges of global espionage. By maintaining this thread, the CIA ensured that its global operations were not only extensive but interconnected. Each operative, each message, and each signal contributed to a single, cohesive network that allowed the agency to see patterns invisible to the enemy, with foresight and safeguard its operatives. In the shadows of the Cold War, the invisible thread wove a web of intelligence that spanned continents, proving that in espionage, connectivity was power, and the silent bonds between people and systems could shape the course of history. The invisible thread stretched across continents, linking operatives in ways unseen and often unspoken. But as the hidden network grew, a new layer of sophistication was introduced, codename ECHO. This initiative was not merely about transmitting messages. It was about creating reverberations of intelligence that could ripple through the network, reaching multiple nodes without ever revealing the source. ECHO became the symbolic heartbeat of the CIA's covert communication system, a method to coordinate, alert, and validate operations across vast distances with precision and discretion. The challenge of codename ECHO lay in its subtlety. Unlike traditional communication, where messages were discrete and directional, ECHO was designed to propagate influence without exposure. Signals were layered, often embedded within benign transmissions, disguised as routine traffic or synchronized with innocuous events. Operatives had to be alert to nuanced cue stimming, sequence, and signal patterns to detect the presence of an echo and respond correctly. Misinterpretation could disrupt operations, reveal sources, or trigger unintended actions. Precision, discipline, and analytical insight were paramount. Field operatives learned to adapt quickly. A signal might come as a fleeting code in a radio broadcast, a concealed phrase in a newspaper, or an innocuous detail passed verbally in a crowded cafe. Each operative knew the protocols, recognized the pattern, confirm authenticity, act, and propagate the echo onward when required. The system relied on redundancy, cross-verification, and a subtle hierarchy of trust. No single failure could compromise the integrity of the network. Yet each participant was acutely aware of their personal responsibility. Codename ECHO was also a psychological instrument. The operatives. Awareness that any message they sent or interpreted could influence distant operations created an invisible pressure, sharpening their focus and discipline. It reinforced the concept that intelligence was an ecosystem. The actions of one agent could ripple outward, affecting outcomes continents away. This interconnectedness transformed the network from a collection of isolated transmissions into a dynamic, adaptive system capable of responding to real-time developments across the globe. The technical implementation of ECHO involved cutting-edge methods for its time. Microtransmitters, encrypted shortwave bursts, and coded sequences were coordinated with field agents who acted as both receivers and relays. Each node of the network played a dual role, gathering intelligence while simultaneously ensuring its safe propagation. Field engineers continuously adapted protocols to counter adversaries' interception attempts, introducing variations in frequency, timing, and encryption. The network became a living organism, constantly evolving to evade detection while maintaining operational coherence. One of the most remarkable aspects of codename ECHO was its adaptability to diverse environments. In densely monitored urban centers, agents relied on subtle signals embedded within public media, synchronized with predictable events. In remote regions, they leveraged portable transmitters and mobile relays, often improvising methods that blended seamlessly with the environment. Across continents, these strategies ensured that intelligence could flow uninterrupted, even under the most challenging circumstances, while minimizing risk to operatives and assets. The ECHO principle extended beyond mere communication. It reinforced coordination across multiple layers of the hidden network, integrating signals from informants, dead drops, and electronic intercepts. Analysts in Langley could piece together fragmented data, tracing the ripple effects of a single transmission across continents. The combined insights allowed the CIA to anticipate adversaries' moves, deploy resources effectively, and maintain strategic advantage often before the enemy realized an operation was underway. Codename Echo symbolized the pinnacle of covert communication, where technology, psychology, and human discipline converged. It demonstrated that intelligence was more than information, was timing, trust, and the art of unseen influence. Across oceans, deserts, and urban landscapes, Echo became a silent orchestrator of action, allowing the CIA to project power, gather insight, and maintain vigilance across continents. The hidden network, reinforced by Echo, had transformed into a global web of influence. Invisible, yet omnipresent, a silent testament to ingenuity, discipline, and the enduring human quest for understanding in the shadows of international espionage. Codename Echo had established a rhythm within the hidden network. Yet the most critical communications often traveled in ways even subtler, hidden in plain sight, embedded in the shadows. These were the messages in the shadows. Intelligence exchanges that relied on misdirection, discretion, and ingenuity to traverse the globe undetected. Operatives were trained to decode layers of deception, to understand that what seemed ordinary could conceal extraordinary information, and that the difference between a routine detail and a critical alert could be imperceptible. These messages flowed through multiple channels: ordinary postal correspondence, innocuous packages, and even seemingly casual verbal exchanges in public spaces. Dead drops were integrated with urban life bench slats, mailbox compartments, and street fixtures became conduits for encrypted notes or microfilm. Observant agents could detect these hidden signals while remaining invisible to the world around them. The art lay in seeing the unseen, understanding context, and moving with the precision of a shadow. The messages often contained dual layers of content: the overt information, which appeared mundane, and the covert intelligence, encrypted or coded, revealing critical insights. Analysts had to unravel these layers meticulously, cross-referencing with other data, tracking patterns, and validating sources. One missed subtlety could compromise operations, yet the careful orchestration of these messages ensured that intelligence reached the right hands, in the right sequence, without detection by adversaries. Operatives operating in hostile territories faced immense risk. Each movement had to be calculated, each action deliberate. Even routine gestures, handing a seemingly ordinary envelope, adjusting a signal device, or lingering near a prearranged location could carry life or death consequences if observed or interpreted incorrectly. The shadows demanded patience, focus, and a deep understanding of human behavior. As the line between successful communication and exposure was razor-thin, the technological aspect of messages in the shadows evolved alongside human expertise. Miniaturized transmitters, coded bursts over secure channels, and subtle electronic pulses complemented traditional methods. Redundant systems were designed to ensure that even if one channel were compromised, others could maintain the flow of intelligence. The network was both adaptive and resilient, capable of responding to threats, environmental challenges, or enemy interference without losing operational coherence. Coordination across continents was vital. A message placed in a dead drop in Lisbon could influence operations in Cairo, Washington, or Hong Kong within hours. Couriers, analysts, and field operatives synchronized actions to ensure that every message remained secure, accurate, and actionable. The precision and discipline required were immense, highlighting the necessity of seamless collaboration between human agents and technological systems. Psychology played a central role. Operatives had to anticipate not only the enemy's observation, but also the potential for misinterpretation within their own network. Trust was cultivated carefully. Each participant understood the stakes, the responsibilities, and the consequences of error. This silent understanding formed an unbroken chain of vigilance and accountability that underpinned the effectiveness of the hidden network. Messages in the shadows exemplified the convergence of innovation, intuition, and meticulous planning. They demonstrated that intelligent success depended as much on human skill and observation as on technology or code. Across continents, cities, and remote regions, these messages maintained the pulse of the CIA's global operations, ensuring that critical intelligence reached its destination safely, promptly, and efficiently. In the end, it was this combination of human ingenuity, technological sophistication, and psychological precision that gave the hidden network its strength. The shadows were not simply places of concealment. They were conduits of action, strategy, and influence. Each message, transmitted silently and securely, reinforced the network's resilience, shaping outcomes far beyond the reach of ordinary perception, and laying the groundwork for the next phase of global communication operations. The hidden network had grown into a vast, breathing structure, its encrypted pulses gliding across continents with remarkable accuracy and stealth. At its core existed an idea so fragile, yet so essential that the entire system depended on it: the relay of secrets. This relay was not just the movement of intelligence, but a carefully synchronized dance of timing, trust, and evolving technology. Every fragment of information was handed off like a precious artifact, ensuring that no message ever remained stagnant, exposed, or vulnerable. Each operative became a living link in a chain that stretched across borders, climates, and political landscapes, fully aware that the success of countless missions rested upon their discipline. The relay demanded a level of coordination that bordered on perfection. From secure embassy rooms to isolated field bases buried in harsh terrain, every message followed predetermined routes crafted with precision. Some pathways were obvious, hiding in plain sight through diplomatic channels and coded dispatches, while others were invisible, stitched through dead drops in quiet alleys. Microfilm slips hidden in everyday objects or bursts of encrypted radio signals that existed only for a second before vanishing into the ether. Timing mattered more than anything. A single delay, a missed pickup, or a mistyped cipher could send shockwaves through the system, risking lives and endangering operations taking place thousands of miles away. The human side of the relay was as complex as its technical design. Operatives carried a silent burden, knowing that every decision they made could alter outcomes far beyond their view. They navigated unstable environments, shifting surveillance patterns, and unexpected obstacles. When plans failed, adaptability became their greatest weapon. A changed patrol route, a malfunctioning transmitter, or an unplanned lockdown could force an operative to improvise within seconds, rerouting the message through alternative paths without breaking the chain of secrecy. Their calm under pressure ensured that intelligence kept flowing even when the world outside refused to cooperate. Across continents, the relay formed a bridge between distant theaters of operation. A report gathered in an Asian port city could influence decisions in European intelligence centers within hours. Signals analysts monitored these flows constantly, comparing data sources, verifying authenticity, and assembling a coherent global picture from thousands of scattered fragments. Redundancy fortified the system. Every pathway had a backup, and every backup had another backup waiting behind it. Even if one route was compromised, the intelligence would simply redirect itself through another channel, ensuring its survival. Technology served as both shield and engine. One-time pads, shortwave bursts, frequency-hopping signals, and encrypted digital pulses let messages travel safely across hostile land, sea, and air. Operatives were trained to recognize subtle pattern codes, authenticate signatures, and respond instantly to incoming signals. Over time, the relay transformed into a living organism, constantly adapting to new counterintelligence techniques, altering its rhythm, and evolving to stay several steps ahead of adversaries who sought to break its flow. No system remained static. Every improvement was met with new challenges, and every challenge sparked new innovation. Trust held the entire operation together. It was the silent force binding individuals who often never met, never spoke, and never even knew one another's names. Compartmentalization protected them, ensuring that no one possessed more knowledge than necessary. Yet each person's role remained critical. Analysts, couriers, informants, handlers, and encryption specialists became part of an unseen community, each relying on the integrity and skill of countless others scattered across the globe. Their collective discipline formed a chain stronger than steel, hidden yet unyielding. The relay of secrets was not merely a process, it was the embodiment of the agency's philosophy: remain ahead, remain prepared, remain resilient. Every encoded packet pushed through the network strengthened its reach, sharpened its insight, and expanded its influence. The relay allowed the CIA to foresee emerging threats, coordinate operations across borders, and maintain oversight on shifting global dynamics. In a world where information could determine outcomes long before a single action was taken, the relay became the heartbeat of intelligence itself. As the hidden network prepared for the full synchronization of its global systems, the relay proved how far a structure built on secrecy, planning, and human ingenuity could evolve. Each handoff, each pulse of encrypted data, and each silent movement of operatives reinforced a system that never slept. It shaped decisions, redirected strategies, and influenced history from behind a fog of shadows. The relay of secrets moved endlessly, binding continents together in an invisible current of knowledge. Its presence felt only by those who understood that information, when protected and delivered with precision, could shape the fate of nations. The relay of secrets had established the rhythm, and now the hidden network's full complexity unfolded across continents. It was no longer simply a system of messages, codes, and operatives. It had become a living organism, its veins pulsating with intelligence, connecting capitals, embassies, and field stations in an invisible global web. Every node, every operator, every signal contributed to a seamless circulation of information, shaping the CIA's capacity to act decisively anywhere in the world. The hidden network had reached its ultimate form: the global veins of intelligence. Through these veins, intelligence flowed continuously. Observations from one continent informed decisions on another. Microtransmissions and encoded messages created a rhythm of global situational awareness that adversaries could neither anticipate nor intercept. Each piece of intelligence, whether from a field agent in a remote village, a signal intercepted overseas, or an informant in a tightly monitored city, traveled along carefully secured routes, integrated with other data, and transformed into actionable insight. The speed, precision, and reliability of this network were unprecedented, and they enabled the CIA to maintain a strategic advantage across multiple theaters simultaneously. The human element remained at the core. Operatives coordinated with meticulous attention, their actions synchronized across time zones, cultural landscapes, and political environments. Even when nodes were isolated or compromised, alternative pathways ensured continuity. Redundancy and compartmentalization created resilience, while trust and professionalism reinforced the invisible bonds that held the network together. The intelligence world had become a circulatory system, with every operator acting as a conduit, a heartbeat, a vital link in a system whose magnitude few could comprehend. Advanced technology complemented this human network. Sophisticated encryption, portable microtransmitters, and secure radio bursts allowed messages to traverse hostile terrain with minimal exposure. Dead drops, one-time pads, and coded verbal exchanges were all synchronized with the digital and analog channels of the network, ensuring that intelligence moved efficiently, securely, and invisibly. Analysts cross-referenced countless streams, detecting patterns and anomalies that would have been invisible without the orchestration of these global veins. Yet, the global veins of intelligence were not invulnerable. Adversaries constantly developed methods to disrupt, intercept, or manipulate information. The CIA responded with continuous innovation, adjusting protocols, developing new cryptographic techniques, and training operatives to detect subtle signs of compromise. Every transmission was an exercise in precision. Every observation a potential key to understanding complex geopolitical dynamics. The network's effectiveness depended on the discipline, skill, and alertness of every participant, highlighting the extraordinary demands of global espionage. As the hidden network reached its peak, the implications were immense. Decisions in one corner of the world could be informed by intelligence from another, with a speed and reliability previously unimaginable. Global operations were no longer reactive. They became predictive, strategic, and adaptive. The network demonstrated how intelligence, when carefully coordinated and executed, could shape events, safeguard assets, and maintain an invisible advantage in a constantly shifting geopolitical landscape. Disclaimer: this documentary-style story is based on historical research, declassified records, and expert analysis. While the narrative captures factual elements of CIA operations and covert communication networks, some characters, methods, and events have been dramatized for cinematic storytelling. Spy Ward's story does not take sides or pass judgment on historical events. The content is intended solely for educational and informational purposes. We hope you enjoyed this journey into the shadows of global espionage. Comment below and let us know where you're watching from. Subscribe to Spy Ward's story for more cinematic spy narratives, and hit the notification bell to stay connected. The world of intelligence is vast and unseen, and every story brings you closer to understanding the intricate, silent forces that shape history.